Hello everyone, welcome back to the FetchQuest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I am your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Conroy.
Hello, everyone.
So Connor, we're about halfway through the year, and at this point, we've had some really good games come out this year.
Yeah, it's been great. Like, we've got Thousand Year Door. We had the Thousand Year Door remake. We've got so many good games already.
I agree. It's been a good year so far for gaming, so why don't we just take a look back through the spring quarter and talk about these. So, welcome everyone to our marketplace report, slash kind of progress report for the second quarter of 2024. Definitely a trend I've seen so far in this quarter is a lot of developers has seemed to have kind of like made their big releases in March. Like, I'm looking at the list we brought up here. We have like Dragon's Dogma 2, we have South Park Snow Day, Outlast Trials, Unicorn Overlord, and like Princess Peach Showtime. I feel like a lot of these games came out early in the year to kind of capitalize on their success over time, because if we compare these, like the release schedules of games for April and May, we only have like a few of them that are like standout, like Stellar Blade, Sandland, Another Crab's Treasure in April, and in May, Hades 2, Thousand Year Door remake, and Multiverses. That's like only some of the few. So Connor, I wanted your thoughts on that.
I think it's. I really don't know how to explain it because, on one hand, it does feel like it's been a sort of a dry spell, which I think that's like warranted because we are approaching, like the summer, like big summer sales and stuff like that. But it does feel like the past few months, especially April, have just been like really dry in terms of gaming content.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually probably like a good thing to think about too, is that those developers probably wanted their games out in March and February so that they could have the summer sale, so that they can like get more get more copies out there in the summertime, because that's where a lot of gaming happens because there's no school.
Yeah, and we haven't even like seen the Summer Games Fest stuff, which, that's probably gonna have like a bunch of stuff. We're probably gonna get a Nintendo Direct soon. Like, we've still got a lot of stuff waiting to be
We do have
announced.
We do. And for context, we are recording after the State of Play on May 30th, and I have some thoughts for sure. I think overall it was pretty lackluster, but it does not matter because we got a gameplay trailer from Monster Hunter Wilds, which will be coming in
Yeah.
2025. But yeah, like we have all these showcases coming out soon, which are just leading into like the rest of the year. So it kind of makes sense why they it feels like a dry season right now, because we're about to have a lot more coming out in quarter three and quarter four. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So one thing I wanted to cover, starting with March, we some of the big names I want to talk about are Princess Peach Showtime, which actually like people just don't talk about this game like at all. Like, what do you
Yeah,
think about
that.
that?
Well, I agree. It really seemed like, at the beginning of the year, when it first got announced, like everyone was, super hyped, and everyone was talking about how this looks like it'll be a great game, and then after it released, like it sort of felt like just nothing happened. Like, I didn't get really any videos in my YouTube feed about it. I didn't see like anything really online after it released. It sort of just came and went.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it did fine. Like, it sold about 1.2 million units on
Which is
Switch,
really
so
good.
yeah, that's good. But it's like that's not like a home wrecker, or that's not like a traditional Mario game. Because like
I don't.
if you compare if you compare Mario Wonder
I'm,
sales, what's
I'm,
up?
I'm, s- did you call it a home wrecker?
Shush, I didn't mean to.
I'm. s-
It It's not like a mainstay, but like compare it to Mario Wonder, which sold 10 times as many copies as Princess Peach Showtime. It kind of feels weird that like they would put as much marketing as they did into this game, and then for it to like just kind of be like kind of forgotten about. You know what I mean? Because like Nintendo was putting a lot on this game, from what I remember. It was actually like one of their bigger games in the direct earlier this year. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see like if they'll make more Princess Peach games after this, or are they just gonna like scrap like the ideas in general because of this?
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that, you know, like Alfred and a bunch of other Peach fans were like, yeah, this game's really good, and I think people should get it. But I just never had interest in it. But I do hope they do more with Princess Peach as a character,
Yeah, I
like
do too.
within games and stuff like that.
I do too, man. I do too. Moving on from that, we saw the release of Dragon's Dogma 2, which, oh
Oh
lord,
boy.
lord,
Uh,
this is
for
this is
those of
arguably
you,
you first.
yeah, I was gonna say this is, if not the most controversial, the second most controversial thing that's happened in gaming this year. Like there was a lot with this. For those who do not know or just forgot what we're talking about, when Dragon's Dogma 2 released, it was first of all on PC. I'm pretty sure it could only run at like 30 FPS, which, you know, that's not a problem for me, but I do understand a lot of people, you know, on PC they like their stuff to run at like 60 FPS, have that clean frame rate and stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
can understand being, you know, a little upset about that. But another thing that people were really upset about is that the game had a lot of seemingly microtransactions of stuff that was like kind of important to the game. Um, and the specific example I'm thinking of is that people believed you had to literally buy fast travel, which, from, you know, Jay, who is a member of this podcast who also played Dragon's Dogma 2, and me, who did some research on the topic, it's not true. In the According to Jay, in the Dragon's Dogma 2 like games, you only have you can place your own fast travel points, but they're very limited resources. So you have to be like very, you know, you have to reserve those for, you know, special parts. And what the you know, when people saw that you had to buy that, they just assumed, oh, you have to buy fast travel. But from the research I did, what it was essentially saying was you can buy one of these fast travel points early, so that way, you know, if you need to go somewhere different, or you can just have that early on. And just a whole other
yeah.
bunch of stuff like that.
The big one, at least for the game, like besides the microtransactions, was the performance of the game, and a lot of reviewers were saying that the game would like need some of the highest end PCs to run correctly, and it makes sense. Like it was capped at 30 frames per second on release for consoles, but it's really sad to see that people they were killing NPCs in the game because they wanted their game to run right, because the NPCs took up so much CPU, and that's just really like Christ, like these players are wanting to experience the game the best way they can, but they have to like they have to limit themselves just so it runs right, and that's what's really unfortunate, because I was quite excited for Dragon's Dogma 2, but unfortunately it just had a really, really, really rough release, and it's not gonna
Yeah.
its reputation, like Cyberpunk, is not gonna really recover from this. Like Cyberpunk 2077 did recover; it is now a good game, but it still has that reputation.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate because the game, from what I've heard, is actually like really good.
Yeah,
It's
and
just that
it's
the
sad to
the
see that.
rough release, that is honestly like, for me, it's one of the biggest, like, sort of setting your foot in the grave early whenever it comes to games. If you have a rough release for a game, it's really hard to recover because you're gonna have that public perception of, oh, this game is not good.
Yeah, which was one of the most hyped up games of this year, which, dude, no one talks about this game anymore, like, at all.
No, yeah,
There's no,
like
yeah, it's
it,
dead in the
if you
water.
want, yeah, if you like for Baldur's Gate 3, like I still see I will still see like posts and discussions about Baldur's Gate 3 on my like on my social media feeds. Sometimes in my YouTube recommendations I'll see a video on that. I get a bunch of stuff on Street Fighter 6 and I don't even play the game that much. And yeah, like yeah, it's a fighting game with DLC, so occasionally it's going to build back up that hype when a character releases, but still like I remember Dragon's Dogma 2 as being hyped up as like probably a game of the year, but then after that rough release, it just completely hilted it like fully stopped any momentum the game had.
It's really unfortunate to see because, like, that game genuinely has a lot of potential, and I feel like if that game does get 100% fixed, it will be a great game. But it's just that's
Yeah,
just the yeah.
I was gonna say I really hope what it gets like a cyberpunk sort of deal where it sort of gets a redemption, because that's what happened with cyberpunk is that cyberpunk was like really rough on release and it but then once it got fixed people revisited and they're like, yeah, this is a really really good game.
Yeah,
Like
and
I
yeah,
know for Liam that's like one of his favorite games, and maybe like a year or two ago when it was like in the really bad state that it was, I doubt that would have been the case.
I do too. I don't think it would have been the same, but it is just it's up to time to see. That's all we can really say about it. But
Yeah.
moving on from Dragon's Dogma 2, another kind of another disappointment we found is South Park Snow Day. Oh god, this game was weird. So, to give some context, with the South Park games, the creators of the show, South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they're always involved in the development of their video games to make sure that the games feel like the show. That's why the previous two South Park games, The Stick of Truth and The Fractured But Whole, are very well regarded, is because they had the creators on the development of those games.
Yeah.
This is a case where they were actually involved with the game all throughout, but it didn't show up to be very good. And the reason for that is because there's like a multitude of issues. The graphics for one are horrendous. Switching 2D characters to 3D models just did not work for them in this game. The gameplay is very shallow. It's not very well designed in terms of level structure and whatnot, but I saw like a good amount of people like excited to see what the third big South Park game was, and unfortunately we had South Park Snow Day, and yeah, it was
Yeah.
just enough said about it. It's disappointing. It has pretty low reviews for a reason. Um, and the final one that I want to talk about is the Outlast Trials. So this is a spin on the Outlast games that it's completely online, I'm pretty sure. And I know people loved Outlast and Outlast 2. Um, so for them to make an online like Outlast game, I think is pretty good. And it sold like I want to say like around I'm reading it right now, 1.5 million copies, which is pretty good for a game. So I'm really glad that was a success. But besides that, that's really all the big stuff I want to talk about in March. What about you, Connor?
Um, I don't know. Not a lot of stuff happened for March of me. The only thing I know that was sort of cool for me was Pepper Grinder, because I played the demo for that game and I really enjoyed it. As I said before, Princess Peach Showtime was something that looked interesting. Unicorn Overlord also looked interesting, but I just never picked it up because I was busy with school. But
Yeah,
I do think March was definitely the biggest we've had this year, like game release wise.
Oh yeah, or at least for the quarter for sure. Um, Moving on to April, this is a weird month. There's not that much that really came out, and there are three games in particular that I wanted to talk about that have been that it released. Another Crab's Treasure is a Souls-like game that where you play as a crab, and you have to use different shells and weapons to build your own character. This is a highly anticipated game for me at least because I am a Souls fan. I am a big Souls fan. If y'all are aware of that, you might not have been. So you just
Yeah,
to let you know.
it's not like Guy references Dark Souls or Souls likes in every video.
I just y'all needed to know that. But another Crab's Treasure came out recently, and I've been really excited to play it. I want to play it. I haven't had the time recently, but it's on Game Pass, so I will be doing that very soon. And for an indie game, for an indie game release, like I think it was the developer's first ever game that they released. I think it sold like 250,000 copies, which is not that bad.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that I'm wanting to pick up in the future. It looks very cute. Um, it looks like it could be very fun, and some of the character designs look interesting and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of stuff from like the Twitter account. The Twitter account looks like is like really funny with some stuff. So I'm definitely wanting to get it.
Yeah, they seem like fun developers. So I'm wondering like what they made. Um, to yo,
Another
yeah, you
I
first.
just I wanted to quickly say that another game that definitely wasn't as controversial as Dragon's Dogma
Dragon's
2.
Dogma.
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 in my opinion, but Stellar Blade was getting a lot of like hate. I not really hate I don't know, it's a very complicated situation. For those who
On that.
unfortunately, or sorry, for those who fortunately do not know the Stellar Blade situation on social media, mainly Twitter, because Twitter's a hellhole. Um, Essentially, what happened is that whenever the game was about to release, maybe like a few weeks before, it was revealed that, or like shown off that there was like a not a naked option, but like an armorless option, and a lot of I don't know how I can say this without getting us demonetized, but
Say it,
uh,
man. What's up?
a lot of gooners were like just going crazy. Like they were like, "This game's gonna be great. I can't. This character's awesome," and you know, for purely for the reasons because they were gonna march the penguin to the character.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
and
what you're saying is
so
that pretty much this game was like big Gooner bait.
yes, that is what the thing. That's what basically everyone was saying about it from like just a single clip that was shown, and it was actually like you know as it got closer to release, a lot of people you know actually started looking into the game to see what it was about, and it actually looked pretty good. Like it looked like it had some cool combat. It looked like it was a cool sort of near sort of style game. Um, in
I know it's a
fact, it
hack
was
and
also
slash.
yeah, and it was also revealed that the like armorlet this option like people thought it was just a skin, but in order to you know play the game while I guess horny I guess is the best way to put it. It literally was to your detriment because you could get almost like one shot by some enemies because it was an armorless option.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, but the game actually looked really good, but the only reason it got like it felt like it got any attention is because gooners were being gooners and being weird about it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate side of a game like this is because okay, there are games out there that will use like the sexuality of women to their advantage for marketing. Two games come to mind when I think about this. Technically three, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are all games that come to mind in terms of like they use hot women to promote their games. What was one of the big things that people were excited for when this got revealed in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Bikini, Tifa, and Aerith, which I don't blame them, but I see what Square was doing. You know what I mean?
I do get where you're coming from, and there are definitely like a lot more egregious examples. I know there's like like in Christ, like mobile game ads will use that like in spades, man.
Yeah, but it's crazy to see we're seeing this like. Well, it's not crazy. It's just like Stellar Blade was just very controversial about it, which is insane because like there have literally been games this year that use sexuality as marketing. You know what I mean? But I do understand
Yeah.
like where you're coming from on that. I've heard Stellar Blade has sold pretty well, but I mean nothing memorable as I've seen so far. It might just be one of those games that like does well initially, but will kind of just be forgotten about later on. But we'll see. We'll see about Stellar
Yeah.
Blade. Um, Sandland. Ooh, God, this is an
This is
interesting topic.
this is very interesting. So for those who don't know, Sandland was a game that the legendary creator of Dragon Ball Z had worked on before he passed away.
Akira
And
Toriyama, I love you so
yeah,
much.
he was legendary within the field of like animation and just in general he was legendary, and he unfortunately passed
Oh
away
yeah,
this
no,
year.
he
And
created.
this was a game that
Yeah,
you
you
you you,
first.
you say what you were gonna say. No, I
I
was just
said
gonna say that this was you first.
okay. Sorry, I'm very excited about this
It's
topic,
fine.
as you can tell. Um,
Yeah.
Akira Toriyama is just a legend in like whether it's the field of anime or just he created one of the biggest franchises in the world. So it's just really unfortunate that he died and like that we got to hear that. But this was one of his last projects, Sandland,
Yeah.
and this is an interesting case of reviewer bias with the game because a lot of people, when they're reviewing this game, Sandland, they are bringing up the fact that he died into account, and we don't know whether their bias for that is affecting their viewpoints of the game. So it's in a very like interesting limbo. What are you gonna say, Connor?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say basically the exact same thing. We've had this conversation before that I definitely do respect the immense impact that Toriyama had on just everything. Like Goku is honestly probably he is like probably at least top 3 most iconic fictional characters at this point.
He just
Like
is. He's Goku.
he, he's up there, man. And him passing away was definitely like one of the worst things to happen this year. And so I do understand why people, they're wanting to be respectful, but as a game reviewer, your job is to look at the game and be like, is this good? Is this bad? And I get it, because because especially for them, it's probably really scary, because if you give a bad review, you could have like very you know passionate fans go after you because it could seem like you're disrespecting Toriyama.
Exactly, and it's in that interesting like little limbo right now. Like the game did pretty well. I think it sold around 100, not 100. Sorry, it has sold around 1 million copies right now, so it's done pretty well. But it's just
Yeah.
like this game is definitely going to be. It's going to be remembered as Toriyama's last video game, and that's just like, or like one of his last. So it's like it's just going to be in that interesting limbo as time goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm definitely wanting to play it just to see like how is it, is it good, is it bad, and I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too, man. That's really like all the stuff I want to talk about in April. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Connor?
Um,
Like in terms
no,
with
not
April?
really. I, th- I, th- I think we covered most of April. Again, as we said before, that I, I definitely do respect the immense impact that Toriyama had on just everything. Like he is honestly probably one of the most iconic fictional characters at this point. Like
Like,
he 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 is up he's up there, man. And so The April and May are pretty dry, all things considered. I think that's just because most developers are trying to save their releases for the big, summer months when Summer Games Fest happens and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I completely get that, man. There's it's just very interesting to see like April just wasn't that big of a month, and we're gonna be saying pretty much the same thing for May. It was bigger and it had bigger releases, but it was not as big as March, and we'll get into that a little bit. The first thing I
Yeah.
want to talk about
Um,
with you first.
I was gonna say, I can't remember if it happened this month or in April, but something I think we should bring up is the Helldivers 2 situation, because that is definitely a big thing that also happened in the last few months.
Oh, yes, that is probably the biggest like gaming thing that happened in
Yeah,
March. And not March,
yeah, that
in May for sure.
yeah. And when we were talking about Dragon's Dogma 2, the reason I said that wasn't the most controversial thing is because this is probably what was. For those who do not know or thankfully
Under
forgot,
a rock.
um, yeah, under a rock. Um, I want to say either near the end of April or the beginning of May. It was a while ago. Uh, the Helldivers 2, one of the, if not the biggest game of the year, at least one of. It was revealed that Sony was going to start requiring people who play on PC to have a PSN. Now, this was insanely controversial because there are a lot of different sides to this. Some people were saying like this is fine because all you have to do is just another passcode. It's not that bad. I think, as well as many others, believe it was probably one of the worst decisions for the game because a Helldivers 2 is a global release game. It is played in a bunch of countries around the world, and a lot of those countries do not support PSN. So if they had gone through with it, which thanks to the Helldiving community, it doesn't seem like they did. I know afterward it was like Sony was still requiring it, even if they said they didn't. But I'm assuming that might have gone fixed now, hopefully. But
I think those countries are still limited. I think so.
man, if that's the case, that's really unfortunate. I haven't really kept up with it, but if that's still true, that's really bad because for a live service game, your main goal is to have as many people playing as possible, and so by Sony wanting to have people you have a PSN in order to play on PC, it drastically cut the amount of people that could play the game. It got so bad that Steam was literally just giving refunds to the people who had bought it, even if it wasn't within their time frame. Because you usually have like only a select amount of time to refund a game when you're playing on Steam.
It was just a really, really bad situation. And though it's crazy because the helldiving community, we fought very vigorously to make sure like PlayStation knew like how bad of a decision we thought this was. And it worked. It actually worked. They did not make the PSN thing required at all. But like Dragon's Dogma, the game has suffered a damage that it is not going to repair from.
Yeah, I mean, luckily this didn't happen on release because if it had, Helldivers just would never have gone off the ground and became the sensation it is. But it now, but like putting it up now, before the game has really started running, like there are still so many things that we haven't gotten to yet in Helldivers 2. And I know that this probably killed it for a bunch of people.
It's really sad
Because
too because the
either,
developers are still like
yeah.
putting content into the game.
And it's also sad because it wasn't even like, the developers were trying to be greedy. It was literally just Sony screwing them over. Because the developers stated multiple times that this was not their decision, that Sony was making them do this.
Yeah,
And
it's just
it's just such an unfortunate situation that the Helldivers developers are stuck in.
Yeah, it's like it never came into fruition, but it's like, does it really matter? Like people like are not picking up the game again because of the damage suffered here. Like this was just a lose-lose. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it was and it wasn't like I don't know how it benefited them. Like, oh, they did it like best thing probably so they could increase their statistics on PlayStation Network maybe, but like God, it was such a bad situation with Helldivers, and it sucked because I love Helldivers 2 so much, but it's just corporations being greedy is just God, it's really it's sad what the greed can do to like passion games like Helldivers 2, you know what I mean?
yeah. But let's move on to May fully
Yeah,
now.
we should. Yeah. That was definitely the biggest thing that came out in May for sure. Wait, it's not even
Or
coming
like
out in May, it's just a thing that
yeah,
happened in
it
May.
just happened. Yeah.
It's really sad.
So yeah, May had a bunch of good stuff though. For one, at least my personal favorite thing, Hades 2 got an early access that showed off a lot, and I am a very big Hades fan. I'm looking forward so much to Hades 2. So it's definitely making me happy that you know that early access came out. I can't play it because I have a Mac and not a Microsoft computer, so I can't play it on Steam, which
You'll be there soon enough, I
which d-
promise.
doesn't totally break my heart, but
Yeah, no.
we'll recover once it fully releases. We'll be able to play it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm excited
um,
that the game got early access because Hades 1 was a very big success for the developers. I'm pretty sure they're called Supergiant.
s- yeah, Super Giant.
Yeah, so for Supergiant Games, and I'm just glad that they decided to stay with the IP of Hades. And it's crazy to think about this, but like Hades came out 6 years ago. No.
God,
The early access did. No, the
that's
early access did. The early access for it came out in 2018, and then the full game came out in 2020.
that's
And
crazy.
I know, and it's like, oh man, like Hades 2 is just around the corner, and we have early access for it now, which like, oh dude, it's so fucking sick. But I'm just really
And
glad that we're getting our
also,
hands on it. What's up?
yeah, and apparently also the early access has more content than Hades 1 did, or at
Which
least
is
it's like
insane.
close. Yeah, for an early access, that's insane because Hades was already pretty big. Like for what it was a pretty big game.
No,
We got a
it
bunch of
was pretty
stuff.
big, yeah.
Yeah. But besides Hades 2, we got the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake, which that was really that it wasn't quote unquote controversial. It was just people online being idiots. Um,
How so?
okay, so I'll quickly go into this because it's a very stupid topic. It's not a stupid topic. It's just people were being stupid. So when the Year Door remake got, I think it was a few days before it got released, it had been sort of revealed that in the like the text and stuff like that had been changed to finally make Vivian a trans woman, which in the original she was, but it was a lot more
Yeah, well, we're not.
derogatory, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was in the Japanese exclusive version, and it was a lot more derogatory towards her, and the Nintendo America version just completely got rid of it. And so when it was revealed that, in this version of the game, Vivian was finally trans, a lot of transphobic pieces of shit were going off about how it was censoring the original version of the script and how it was just Nintendo trying to be woke, which is not it's not true because it was technically in the 20 or not the 20 it
The
was in the
original
original
version.
version. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It was in the original version, even if it wasn't the most positive thing. It was in the original version, and it was also just completely. And if you're talking about script altering, that's literally what the Nintendo of America version did, which they completely got rid of that fact. Like, even if it had been more derogatory, it still would have been there. And it just really makes me upset because, you know, this it's such a very hostile environment for, trans people. And so, and when so many, like, very few mediums have actually, like, made canon trans characters, it's just really nice to finally see that community get a win, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, of
Because,
course.
like, because before, if you asked me to name a trans character in a video game, I could literally only just say Madeline from Celeste, because that's the only other canon trans character I can think of. Like,
Yeah,
people obviously have their head canons, but, it's just good to have a canon representation. And so
yeah.
when and it's just really good to see, because especially nowadays, it feels a lot more hostile toward, like, the general entertainment industry just feels a lot more scared to have representation like that
You're
because
thinking
of
now?
getting.
Dog, 10 years ago it was much
Yeah,
worse.
no, yeah, no, definitely, it was definitely worse, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, no, it
It's still.
definitely it is hostile, and we are as a culture like very much like inclusive now, and I'm glad, but obviously like we're still going to have those exceptions with some people, which sucks.
Yeah,
But it is just like
yeah, and so,
yeah.
but besides that, everyone, the remake, including that, with the remake, it seems to be super, you know, it seems to be very, I can't remember the word for it, but it is very close to the original. It, it changes some stuff that make it more fun, and it just
Yeah.
seems to overall be a great remake. And I'm
Just
definitely excited to pick it up sometime in the future once I clear out my backlog.
I'm glad that they remade this game because this is widely considered the Paper Mario game. Like
Yeah.
like everyone when they say, "Oh, I'm a Paper Mario fan," they always are talking about that Thousand Year Door.
Yeah,
So
there's two. There's usually like two games. It's majority Thousand Year Door, but I know there's another Paper Mario game. I can't remember the title, but
Super Paper Mario,
yeah, I think it's Super Paper Mario.
yeah, that was one that
That's
released for the
also like,
Wii. A lot of people love that game.
yeah, it's usually those two. So it's really nice to see a remake of this game on, for modern audiences, so they can see the how good it is, and I'm definitely excited to play it.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that like this game is getting the remake that it deserves. $60, that's always just a thing with Nintendo, but I bet it's
I
a great
mean,
game.
it could be 70, so.
Ooh, yikers. Um, it with
But
May. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think there's two more games I sort of wanna play, or not play, talk
Just
about.
talk about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Multiverses is one of them. That's definitely been getting a lot of different perspectives on social media and stuff like that now, and also a small game called Animal Well. I'll start with Animal Well first, because that's definitely going to be like the least talked about when out of the two.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's a small indie game that released near the beginning of May, I believe. That looked pretty cool. I saw a few bits of gameplay. It looked fun, but the biggest thing that people were talking about it was I think here, let me look
Is
up
it Video
the.
Game Donkey? I think he actually developed this game.
Yes. Well, I think he didn't develop it. I think he released it. Is that he was one of the,
Yeah.
like, companies that
One of the
released it.
publishers.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I
publishers, I
remember
think.
he was advertising this game a lot, Animal Well, and it actually got me pretty
Yeah,
interested. So I'm
yeah,
actually like, yeah.
I'm gonna say it's a Metroidvania, so it definitely has already captured my attention with that. But it was published by Big Mode, which I don't know if he founded it or if he's just like a big part of it. But Donkey is, like, big in Big Mode, so that was definitely what I was seeing a lot of people talking about, is that he, was involved with this.
Yeah, and that's awesome that like we're seeing the release of it finally because I know he's been very passionate about the game. So that's definitely a game to keep your eyes out for.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
I haven't played it personally, but it looks good.
yeah. I'm also really, I like playing indie games because I find that indie games usually will have more. They'll have more stuff to them. Like they're obviously cheaper. They'll usually be able to cover like other stuff that most modern like big AAA games can't. So I'm very excited to play that.
Yeah, it looks good, man. But going on
But
the
now
opposite end
this
of the quality spectrum, we have Multiverses,
multiverses.
which
So
is free on
this
all platforms except for Switch, I'm pretty sure.
that's crazy. Is it
Dude,
like not on Switch or do you have to pay for Switch?
no, I don't think it's on Switch at all.
Okay, okay. That like confused me because I was like, do you have to pay if you have it on Switch? That's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, I get what you mean. I get the confusion.
That'd be
Um,
really funny though.
Multiverses, God, that's insane. How a
So
game that came out like beta wise a few years ago, finally got its full
was
release
better.
and it was better. Actually, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say my view on it right now. I didn't like the beta all too much. I thought it was really boring and the gameplay was just finicky. And then apparently it's even worse now.
So there's a lot of things about multiverses that has been floating around. I've seen a bunch of gameplay from it, um, and I have to say I do think the beta was better, which is crazy. Um, for those who don't know, Multiverses is a platform fighter featuring a bunch of like cartoon TV characters. You've got
From
Finn from
Warner
Adventure
Brothers.
Time,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're like
from Warner
they're
Brothers.
yeah, it's a Warner Brothers like Smash Brothers pretty much. So it's like you have characters from all of their properties coming into like this platform fighter.
Yeah, you've got like Finn from Adventure Time. You've got Rick from Rick and Morty. I think you've got like Superman, the Joker, Jason Voorhees, even like
Steven Universe.
yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of stuff in there, but apparently it's very broken balance wise. I have seen so many clips of like LeBron James, which yes, LeBron James is in this game, which is very funny. Um, but there's a I don't know if it's a glitch or if it's just a very broken move, but you can just throw like basketballs down onto the ground and you can catch the opponent in a loop and it'll just infinitely build up damage until they eventually just die.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Like
like
it's
yeah, it's
just
not that
insane
good.
broken stuff like that.
Not
And
just that, but
apparently
also yeah, you first.
it's I was gonna say it's also a live service game, and unlike Helldivers 2, it's a very bad one because it's a fighting game. So when you start up Helldivers 2, or not Helldivers 2, Multiverses, sorry, I was thinking of Peak for a second. But when you start up Multiverses, you only have one character that you have, which is fine. That's how World of Light or not World of Light. That's how like Smash Bros. Did, where you only had, um, you have a
You
select
have a
few
base.
characters, and then you have to, yeah, you have a
Yeah.
base roster, and then you have to, just keep playing the game and unlock characters, which I'm fine with. I think that's cool. The
Yeah,
problem
and
with multiverses, you
yeah,
first.
I was gonna say like it creates incentive to like by limiting some of your options first, they want you to play like some characters first, get a feel for them. Then as you unlock like characters, you just like it gives you the incentive of, oh, I just unlocked this character because I was playing the game. I wonder how they play. And it's like it's wanting you to try new things, which I think is just a really good design.
Yeah, the problem with multiverses is that in order to buy the characters, you have to. I think it's called like Glemium or something. I don't know. I don't know specifically how the currencies work, but in order to unlock one character, you have to play like upwards of like, I think 8 to 12 hours, like 7 or 8 hours, I think. And so, for
It's something
characters that
absurd like
cost
that.
eight, yeah, and someone did the math, and if you were to play at the rate of like, you know unlocking a certain character. In order to unlock the Joker, you would have to play 77 hours just to unlock that character. But you could always spend like $10 in order to buy the characters, which makes Multiverses a literal pay to win game because you have to buy the entire roster.
Yeah, because like
And I
you first.
yeah, I was going to say quickly just I know that, certain fighting game DLCs, they'll have a really good character. Like a great example is Steve from Ultimate. Like he is the best character in the game and he's DLC. But at least you get a base roster of like 70 characters to play if you can't get the DLC. If you don't buy characters in multiverses, you get one and four constantly rotating other characters.
Yeah,
It is absurd.
it's just not worth the investment. Like really, like it's just like I get that it's free to play and they need to make their money somehow, but I would rather them make the game like you would have to buy the game at first, um, just so I can have like a base roster, but not this system because I think having it free is just causing them to make the decision to have these fighters go on rotation for who you can play, and the ones not on rotation you have to buy with real money or just grind like crazy. So I wouldn't mind like a $30 or $40 like price tag if it meant I get like most of these characters for free, and then obviously like DLC characters that's like for something else. If you want to make them free or if you want to pay money, make the players pay money, go for that. But like it's just there's a lack of variety with the game, and this is
Yeah, and
yeah,
we haven't even really delved into the entire problems with the game. People are saying it's like super slow gameplay wise and just a whole other bunch of stuff like that. But that I think multiverses is definitely a topic for a different episode.
yeah. It's just
There's
a lot
just
of
so
controversy
much
around the
wrong with
game right
it.
now.
Yeah.
God, it's insane. Um, one last thing I want to talk about with our little marketplace report here is that we have some big developers actually kind of struggling right now with their business ventures. And the big one that I want to talk about is Square Enix is actually struggling with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in terms of sales. And I wanted to talk about this for a little bit. And I think the main reason as to why that is because it is a sequel of a game. So obviously the sales are not going to be as high. And also, I don't think I think there's too much budget going into that game for it to make like a lot of profit, even though it's been successful and like the reviews are good. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I get what you're saying.
And even then, like the sequel, like even if it's a sequel to a game that people just haven't played yet, just because a game is a sequel doesn't mean it does bad. And my primary examples for this are last year's God of War Ragnarok. No, no, not last year's God of War. No, it came out in 2022. Last 2022's God of War Ragnarok and last year's Spider-Man 2. They broke records on the PlayStation charts. So I think Rebirth is just struggling to like I feel like it's struggling to captivate audiences because it's so similar to remake, but it's just crazy because Square Enix has put so much time into this game, and for the game not to meet their standards is just kind of wild, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because like big company too, trying to like advertising and making this game, but it's not living up to their standards, which like it's unfortunate, it really is, but it's like what did they do wrong that made it like not do
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, I agree. Before we, close up, I do think we should maybe look to the future a bit and see, if what other upcoming things also are coming out. Just a few,
Yeah,
though.
of course. Yeah, just a little thing of
Um,
what to look forward to.
yeah, I think, possibly your favorite thing is the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC is releasing next month,
Oh
which,
my
well,
god. Well, as you're
probably by the time we're releasing it, by the time we release this episode this month.
oh yeah, it'll only be a few weeks away, baby. I think Shout of the Erdtree, like the DLC, is definitely going to be the most talked about thing for a while. It is an Elden Ring DLC has been in the works for a while, and so many people have been waiting for it ever since the game released. Not because the game had a lack of content. If anything, it has a fuck ton of content that I still don't know about. But it's just people want more Elden Ring to experience because it's just that good. So people are finally getting that next month with Shadow of the Erdtree. So I know that DLC is going to be doing very well, and there's going to be little tease into the future. We might make an Elden Ring episode just before it, but yeah, no, I feel like that is definitely something you should keep your eyes out for in the future. It's a DLC to one of the best games ever made and game of the year winner 2022. So I think people should definitely look out for that. What about you, Connor? What's a really big thing you're excited for?
Um, I guess it's kind of big. I don't know if I'm gonna get it on release, but SMT5 Vengeance is coming out, and I've never played the original, but it does have a very important place within my heart. That game, because just to drop a bit of lore for our viewers, real quick, that game is how we met, actually.
It is, and I actually have a very soft spot for SMT5 because of that. Yeah, there's Connor noticed me in our school program one time. I was playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 during like our little free time, and little did he know that this would be where we are now, both of us actually. But yeah, no, we met each other through SMT5 because Connor, say your side of the story. Like you recognized it or something like.
Yeah, I had remembered that I had seen it on a Nintendo Direct recently, and I had recognized like the character model, and so I saw you playing that on your Switch, and during the little free period we had, and I was like, oh, is that SMT5? And you're like, oh yeah, I've been playing it. I was like, and we talked about that, and we I think we both sort of just got a little attached, and then just we kept talking over the course of the year, and then we became really, we became friends, and now we're here recording the episode of the podcast.
Exactly, and now we're like some of we're like Connor's one of my best friends like I've ever had, and I obviously vice versa. So for SMT5 Vengeance, like the expanded re-release to come out, like it kind of important to both of us. That is a big
Yeah,
game coming out for us.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna make sure I play it just so I can have that.
That's just a little final shitpost story that I think's really funny. Before we end this video, I think it's really funny that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, it got announced the same day the Elden Ring DLC got a trailer. So,
Yep.
but they were supposed to release at the same time. Atlas knew their competition, so they moved the release date for Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance up by a week. And I just think it's really funny that they had to move up their release date because they knew the
Well,
competition and they did not want to compete.
it, here's the thing. It would have been like they've seen what's happened before. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's happened with Elden Ring before. Where when Elden Ring first released, so did Horizon Forbidden West, and no, not a lot of people bought Horizon Forbidden West because Elden Ring was out.
Forbidden West came out a week before Vengeance, so no. Sorry, horrid wording there. Um, Forbidden West came out a week before Elden Ring, and so is Vengeance is doing the same thing with a Erdtree DLC, Shout of the Erdtree DLC.
Yeah,
So they might be setting themselves up for failure. There's no telling.
yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna get it at some point,
I
because
am
of the
too.
story
Yeah,
we've just stated. But I think that's um, I think that's a great wrapping up point for the
that's a
episode.
great place to put. That's a great place to wrap up this episode. With that being said,
Yep.
guys, if you like content like this, please like and subscribe so we can post more stuff like this to make sure that we know that you guys like this kind of stuff. And comment down below what you're excited for the rest of the year, or maybe a game that you picked up that came out earlier this year that we should talk about. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and this has been our marketplace report for Q2 2024. Thank you guys
Thank
very
you
much.
all for watching. Goodbye.
See you later.